Hi guys, and today I thought we'd just take a look at my shop's radiant floor heating system. So this system is heating approximately just over 3,000 square feet. The main source for the hot water, or in this case coolant, is coming from an outside wood boiler, which is a Heatmaster unit, which you guys may have seen in a previous video. But anyhow, today we're just going to take a look at this, discuss my setup here and why. So yeah, let's get started. So first off, of course, the PEX tubing is going into the slab. You'll notice that this PEX tubing is orange in color. Basically, this tubing is a little bit different than your normal PEX in that it has a outside coating to help prevent oxygen getting in to the pipe. Believe it or not, I didn't believe it, but you know that's what they make it for, is to prevent that. So of course that goes into the slab and is stapled on top of this foam insulation. So going down into the slab, the PEX is protected. Basically what I have down here is 2-inch PVC conduit, 90-degree elbow. So that elbow is helping make the bend into the slab, and of course it's filled with foam insulation, so to give it a little bit of movement if needed. So from there it comes up, of course, to the manifold. We have a in and an out manifold here. There are 13 zones, I believe. I do have more zones than normal, and of course you can see, you know, this is 3/4 PEX. It's pretty much overkill, but I tend to do things with a little bit of overkill. Now, if for some reason something happens and there's a problem with one of these zones, I can of course cut that zone completely off and still have the ability to properly heat this building. That being said, one thing to note when you're laying the zoning out, each zone needs to be about the same in length. Yes, you can adapt it a little bit with controlling the flow, which, as you can see here, but ideally, if you're setting this system up, your zones are all the same length, and it's easier to regulate, basically. So if we start at where we're actually pulling the heat from, I'm going to turn my light on here. Hopefully you guys can see and hear better. Basically, here is where the PEX is coming up out of the ground. Changes over to copper. From there, it goes to this plate exchanger. So basically, these are two separate systems. You don't want to use the same system. The outside boiler system is an open, non-pressurized system, whereas the actual floor system is pressurized. So from there, we're pulling the heat in to the pressurized system. At the first stage, we have our air vent. So any air trapped in the system, this super vent is supposed to bleed out. So as you can see from here, there's a line down in a T. To the right of the T is a pressure tank to deal with change in pressure. Ideally that would be on the cold side, but in this situation, it worked better layout wise, of course, here on the hot side. As you can notice, this pressure tank is a little bit different than what's commonly seen on the market. You can get this from Supply House where I ordered it. It's just a flat tank instead of your normal circle tank. You want the specs on that. On the opposite side, the left-hand side of that T, of course, a little shutoff valve, and then we go down into this pressure feeder. So basically what the pressure feeder is doing is keeping a decent pressure in the system. So if the pressure becomes too high, it's supposed to auto-regulate and dump pressure into the tank. If for some reason there was an air pocket I missed in the floor, of course in the PEX, and then the pressure dropped in the system, here this tank could pull and build that pressure back up with the pump. So that is a AXIOM feeder. I guess it seemed to work pretty well. For me, I did initially have an issue. It didn't want to pump. I don't know if we can easily see it, but there is a fuse right here, and that fuse was blown. So instead of returning it, I just ordered a box of fuses, threw a fuse in it, and haven't had a problem since. On the cap, as you can see here, there is a little spot you can unscrew out. Ideally, I haven't done it yet, but I have a manual relief up here. This would be plumbed in. So if for some reason this relief went off, it would dump the coolant into the tank instead of course, all over the floor. Now, we're not talking a lot of coolant at that point, but again, the feature is there to dump it in the tank and to keep it off the floor. So getting back to here, so from the air removal, we go to the mixing valve here. Basically, it's a manual mixing valve to help regulate temperature into the floor. So instead of pushing, say 180 right into the floor, it can pull water, as in this case coolant, from this cold side and mix it with real hot coolant from the hot side. Of course, this is a manual unit, so there's going to be some variation in temperature. You can set it up to where it automatically adjusts, but I didn't buy that feature yet. I was just going to test it out for manual, and it seemed to work for me for now. Below that, I just have a normal circulator pump. This circulator pump is controlled by this one pump zone relay. So power in, power out to the pump. The relay is then told to come on or off by this thermostat line. Of course, the thermostat is over near the door. Pretty simple there. Normal setup there. Going back down here, of course, there's a valve, manual temp gauge, and then we go into the manifold. On the opposite end of the manifold, we do have some small air removal units, one on the inlet and one on the outlet, as well as drains. So the drains are good to also pump coolant back in the system if it's needed, or again, I can dump it into this tank and have that pump resupply if for some reason, I have a leak in the system and we need to drain the system, that sort of stuff. So of course from there, it goes into the floor and it comes back out this manifold here. There is a shutoff valve here and a temp gauge out, so you can monitor, inlet and outlet temperature and then regulate as needed. Coming up, 30 psi relief. An emergency. Again, this is supposed to be able to regulate the pressure, so hopefully this never does relief, but it is there for safety. Coming across the top, you'll see there is a strainer. Basically, if there's any debris in the system, the strainer is supposed to catch it before we go in to the plate exchanger right there. So that's pretty much it. This is just a water line that I haven't hooked up. I haven't hooked water up out here yet. As you can see, there's another plate exchanger down there, and that would be for hot water. So that's something to do in the future, but as of right now, I just have the line run. The blue line is for compressed air. That's another project that's not not yet completed, but the line is run for it as well. So yeah, as you guys can see, it is in the wall. Most of the time these systems are outside the wall, but I wanted to keep the system inside the wall and away, so that internally in the shop I can move everything around and don't have to worry about, you know, this sticking out of the wall. Well, now I can't put cabinets there because that sticks out of the wall. So doing this eliminated that. Insulation value is about R15. There is another piece between this and the outside, so it's not too bad of R value with the coarse foam insulation. And I even was able to sneak this feeder in there as well. So if I want to close this off, I can. If I want to put a cabinet in front of it, I can, like here. You know, I have this cabinet in front of that portion of the system. So yeah, if you guys are looking at doing this, I hope that this video helps you out in determining what you might need and how you might lay it out. Again, I'm definitely not a plumber, as you can see from some of these solder joints, or somebody that's in the industry for heating systems. I mean, I know that I went a little bit overboard with the size of the PEX going into the floor, but again, like I said, I like to do things a little bit overkill. So yeah, so if you guys have any questions on this, any thoughts, please leave it in the comments below, and please stay tuned for more episodes and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you.